Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's March 10th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and another big sell-off day. We did recover some of it near the end of the day, but this thing just keeps going lower. I will say it looks like we bounced at almost a perfect measured move there. Um, this thing is severely oversold, so it's gonna pop and bounce at some point, but who knows when that's going to be? Will it be tomorrow? Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me since we moved a measured move equal to the width of the range now. You can see that really close. I don't know if we didn't quite touch it, but I think that's within a tick. So that's probably close enough. If so, we'll see if we bounce to tomorrow or not. The market's closed right now. It's a little after 4, but it's not 5 yet, so it hadn't opened back up. So, but there it is on the daily chart. Very bearish. We did recover some of it, but let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and take a look. It's very bearish, and we'll take a look at it and go through the trades. And here it is, all downhill. We had a little bit of a two-legged correction there, which gave you a break of this early trend channel, and then we ran down to a new low. It looked like we were going to rally, but then we turned back down. So I think you have another spike and channel down here that's a separate channel. Well, that's the way I drew it. So very bearish day. You can see there. Let's zoom in here. I did a live trade today that I posted up. If you hadn't seen that, make sure you watch that before the day's over. It'll be on YouTube by the time this video is posted as well, most likely. But you can, it's free, so you can go to the website and find it if you want. But it will be posted to YouTube. You'll be able to find it on YouTube here by the time this video is posted. So make sure you watch that. But here we go. Let's take a look here. We zoom in. 7 o'clock came right in here somewhere on these bars sideways on this move down. Um, so you got your move down, then you get a break here, and you get a second entry short right off the original trend line, right off the key entry point. Now you already had a break at a new low, but you can't. I mean, that's just a perfect setup. I think you have to take it. Then it rallies, but we get a quick break here and a new high. Um, I like that trade. It's like a third or fourth entry. 1, 2, 3. It's like a fourth entry. Actually, you made a new low there, so it's just a first entry. Um, but you do have your break and new high, and it comes right off the midline. So maybe you take that trade. You're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here, and that is a second entry short because we do make a new swing. So you get a first entry, second entry. It's moved a good bit, but I still think since it's a second entry, I think you can take that trade. You're really trading the second entry and not so much the lower high. It bounces again, and once again, in my opinion, this is not a break. I mean, if by the counts that would be a second entry, but this looks sideways, so that's your move up, and so there's a little hidden second entry there, and you pretty much get a triple test here. So I like going short there. I marked it green, but you'd be better off to wait on the lower high, which doesn't come. It just runs all the way to the bottom again. And then off we go again. You get a break here, and you get a couple. Unfortunately, you don't get a setup here on this second entry, but it's a good thing because it fails and you end up going higher. So you just have to kind of sit this one out. You finally get a break here and a new high. There was a lower high here that maybe you enter on that, but I felt it was a little congested there. But as bearish as this thing's been, maybe you enter there. But if you don't enter there, definitely enter here when it tries to go higher a third time. It's a triple test of that trend line, and boom, off it goes again. All these moves are fast and furious and easy trades. Um, you're able to get in and out of them really fast. But you bounce here again, and you have a shorter term trend channel working down in the bigger one here. But notice you get a move up, first entry, second entry. I think that's bearish enough. You get a lower high here. You probably don't get a runner here because you're already going to be out of this one because it moves, I think, exactly 6 ticks, and you would have already been out. Um, but it turns back down again. But you don't get a good setup there, so you just kind of have to watch that one. And then it bounces again, and you do get a second entry here. But notice there's no break of that channel or anything, and it keeps working higher. And even when you do get a close outside and a new high, it's not a very good signal bar. First entry there for these are all, and then you're just chopping sideways. Now you do have a break of this channel and a new low, and by this time you've got a triple test and you get that little failed break lower. You're better off to wait on the higher low, which you never really get a chance to trade. But with that failed break lower, sometimes those are big moves. I think it's dangerous entering, as bearish as this is anyway. Although the shorter term channel here, I didn't color this one. Let me just go ahead and color it just so it's, just give it a little different color. But you can see you get a break and a few legs down, and you get this bottom here and the little failed break lower. There's plenty of room back to the EMA. If you want to be a little aggressive, that's where I would do it. although you're not really looking for a bounce yet. You're looking for maybe a little correction here, but you're probably not going to get a reversal or anything like that. So it's taking a little more risk. But we're just running sideways here. And there is a second entry. You're not really looking for second entries here. But there's an entry, but you've only turned down there twice now, and that made a new high. So I'd sit tight and see if you get a lower high. And you can see what happens. It pushes up again. And then you get your lower high here. Now you might enter here on the failed breakout, but again, you're always better off to wait on the lower high. And you could even argue for that one, but there's so many good trades here today that I wouldn't take these green ones. Because there is a break and a new high here, and that is a second entry. 2 legs back. And this would be a second entry too, but you're not really looking for second entries here. But if it is a second entry and you're following the range rules, it just probably makes it a little better. And then notice we break out here again. We failed out the top. Now we failed out the bottom, and this breaks lower first and turns up. That far away from the EMA, I like entering that on the engulfing bar. I don't know if I'd wait and enter way up here. See if you get a higher low, and you do, but it's not a good setup. And then guess what? It turns down right at the resistance of the range again, and then gives you a lower high right there. It's a double top, so it's the same thing. You got plenty of room to get out. I like going short there. Another good move, and that's just a first entry. And I thought I was going to get a good setup here. I started trying to film a setup right in here. And notice you get a perfect second entry, but your signal bar is an inside bar. So there's no break of that channel yet. So I didn't like that one. Then you're working down and you get a lower high here. But again, it's moved a long way. Really if you took this, you'd be playing the failed breakout. And there is room to scalp out. So maybe you enter there on a failed breakout that closes back in the range. But again, I would sit tight and just kind of wait. It breaks out the bottom. I don't see any reason to go long there. You might say, okay, this is a triple test, but you're making a higher high here each time, and this is played out. This channel is still going. There's no break of it yet. So I think it's too dangerous to enter short there. And it takes off and runs to the bottom again. Kind of find the bottom down here again in this tight range. Even though you're probably coming back at least to the EMA, I'd sit tight. Wait and see if you get a second entry here. And sure enough, it runs up. You get a close outside, move to a new high. I tried to enter on this bar. It didn't trigger. But then you get a higher bar there. It's still bearish enough in my opinion, so I moved my this is where I took the trade, the demonstration. So I moved my stop up 1 tick and entered right 1 tick below this bar. And then I was scalped out, and then my runner got 4 points. And I have mine set for 4 points, and I just left it at that because that was going to get me out just before the EMA, and that was a perfect trade. It didn't go much further than that. And literally this trade lasted 13 seconds. And that's how long it lasted. And it made me about, I forget, it was 1600. What it make me after commissions? 1585.50, almost $1,600 in 13 seconds. I did get some slippage here. I entered on 20 contracts, and on my final 7, I lost 1 tick. And so the way these contracts work, it's first in, first out. So I got out all but 2 on the scalp because my scalp's in 4 ticks. And so I lost 2 ticks on the scalp. My 15, I scalped out on 15 contracts, so I lost 2 ticks on those 2 contracts, 2 of the 7, and the other 5 would have been on the runner, so I lost another 5 ticks when I scalped out on the 20 points because it was 5 runners and I got 4 points, but I lost 1 tick on 5 of those contracts. And the same thing here, I lost 1 tick on 2 contracts, but on the scalp, I lost 1 tick on 2 contracts, and on the runners, I lost 1 tick on the final 5 contracts because it's first in, first out. So they would, when I lost those I had that slippage on the final 7 contracts when I entered, so they would come off last, and that's why it's a shame because I would have got another point in the tick if they'd have come off earlier. I would have lost the 5 ticks either way. It was a total of 7 ticks because I had 7 contracts with 1 tick slippage. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of hard to describe, but if you understand how it works, you should make sense. But literally 13 seconds and $1,585. So, and I was hoping it would turn down and go further. Here it didn't matter because I was going to scalp out. There was always a chance that we might get another leg up, but this thing kept going. So then you had to assume you were probably going to go back to the trend line and maybe even get a break. It looked like here we were going to turn back down, but it didn't happen. We ended up getting the break there, which is kind of what once it kept going, that's what I figured would happen. They did kind of fake you out here before they took it higher and got that break. But anyway, I think that's that's like 25 ticks. I don't think you want to enter way down here that close to support, and you see it does bounce. I think it would have worked. Let's just see. If you get 6 ticks there. Yeah, you got more than 6 ticks, so it would have easily worked. But I just don't think you want to take that trade. And then you get a lower high here, but it doesn't trigger. You get an inside bar before it triggers, and then it bounces again. And notice you get a close outside here. It doesn't quite make a new low, but it takes off, and then you get a close outside here, and it's just a first entry. And notice you get first entry, second entry, and that's a pretty good signal bar way away from the EMA. Again, you're better off to wait on the lower high, but you don't always get one. So maybe you enter there, you would have scalped out easily, and then it runs up again, and you get another one. Well, this one's more apt to work than this one, or every time it goes higher, it's higher odds it's going to work. So again, you're better off to wait on the lower high, but I marked that green, and if you catch that one, boom, it's off to the races. And that's what you're looking for here. After getting the break of the trend line, now you're looking for a big move down. And there it is. If you can catch a runner on one like that, you probably don't want to go for, you probably don't want to exit into the EMA because you're working down now. And you can see if you wait till you get the first close outside and go 1 tick higher, well, there's 22 points on a runner. So that would be the one to catch. If you didn't catch that one, a few minutes later, you get a first entry, second entry, and you get your close outside, and it makes a slightly lower high. So I like going short there again. And it's only good for, you would have got a little bit of a runner there too. And then you get a reversal here, but I think we've already had a reversal up here, so I don't think you would be looking for a reversal. It's not necessarily the spot. Um, just first entry, and then another first entry with no. There's a bit of a channel there going up, but in the end, I think this is more sideways. And so you're playing the breakout. And you don't get a good signal bar there anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then it fails out the bottom down here. And if you show your measured move, it's probably a measured move. You can see that it bounces and bounces. And that one might have been tempting, but again, you don't have your new low in place yet. So it's a little dangerous, but it's probably going to at least come back to the EMA, and it's probably going to come back and test the upper side. So if you want to be a little aggressive, maybe you go long there. Runs up here and it just turns down. And notice it runs almost a perfect measured move again, and then turns down, and then this one's off to the races. And again, that's a failed breakout with slightly lower high. But the problem I didn't like going short on this one is you're still in this channel working up. But you could play range rules either way. And so maybe you go short there too. It would have been another nice move. Then you get your close outside new low, and then boom, it rallies up out of there. And you did make a new low here because there was your previous low of this trend channel down. So you actually made your new right here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot and my throat's bothering me here. There's a second entry short there, but no signal bar. You can see first entry, second entry. And a good thing because you would have got trapped. And you really get your trend up here, close outside, new high. And that's a double bottom, so that's a second entry short. And it's right here. It's basically, I think you could call that a triple test, at least a double top, but there's some space there. So I think you got to go short that far away from the EMA. And once again, boom, it's just a big move down. And then you're working sideways. You get a failed breakout here, but that bar is not much room to the lows. I think you have to sit tight there, and then you get another one, but you got more room here. It doesn't matter anyway. It just keeps going. So I like entering on that one. You get a close outside new low, and you get a higher low right here, but you'd have to pretty much trade that on the engulfing bar, and that looks congested. I still think there's enough room back here, and you do have your new low and all in place. But I don't think I would trade that. Okay, sorry, I meant to turn that ringer off, and I forgot. But yeah, you might trade that as a higher low. It's a possibility. But there's just been so many good trades today, I just don't see any reason. And notice you're working up. You get a close outside. Notice that makes a new low, and then first entry, second entry. Nice signal bar, way away from the EMA. There's another great entry, and it just takes off again. I mean, these things move quickly too. I mean, you're in and out. And first entry, and finally you get a break here. This kind of works sideways. I didn't draw this. You can see it there. I don't think you can take that one. It ends up working, but I just sit tight. Then you get another trend up, close outside. It tries to go higher, makes a lower high, and that is actually a second entry short. Notice the new low, first entry, goes higher, turns down. Second entry short, just go short one tick below that. It takes a minute, but it takes off. That one is about the only one that just didn't take off that I've pointed out so far that was a nice second entry with the trend. And remember, we got a new trend going here, and it's going to get confirmed here on this next move up. We run up, you get a first entry, and you get a second entry. Unfortunately, you don't get a setup here. You do get the close outside. It's just, if you got a good signal bar up here, go short, because it's a clear second entry. Even though there's a little push lower by the counts, that's the third entry. This is just sideways double bottom, and that's two legs up. As you can clearly see, there's two legs. So if you got a good entry there, take it. And then you make another new swing low, and you get a first entry, second entry. I didn't mark this one because the signal bar is not good enough. If you had a good signal bar on that second entry, take it. You might argue, okay, there's a lower high here, but you get an engulfing bar, and that was so close to those lows right there. I just sit tight. Drops on down. First entry, no setup. And then first entry and another second entry. But again, this was your signal bar, and it's not good enough. This would have broke higher and turned down and closed lower. Yeah, maybe, but it doesn't. And no setup here. It's unfortunate this last little move was really strong, but there's just not any good setups. Nothing here you could trade. And we finally bottom out down here on the other side, and this thing just rockets off. And there's nothing I would buy down here. Close outside, 2 legs up to a new high. Now, I didn't mark that one, but it's very tempting because you've already had a second trend down. You probably should wait on a lower high here, and you can see you just don't get one. You actually get a triple test that confirms this trend line. So I like going long there. You're thinking short possibly, but when it makes that triple test, I like going long there on a second entry long. Now, if you did go short right there, you can see right here, it still works. So it's one that you might take. If it'd been a clear second entry, maybe. But this is like a third or fourth entry right here. I think you have to wait on the lower high, and it never comes. And then I like going long. But if you took that, it works. But you're being a little aggressive, but again, it works. And this one takes a minute, and it takes on off. And then notice you're running up here, and you get another second entry short at the top of this trend channel. And there's really a shorter term. And you can see there's a shorter term one there. You probably should start it from here. I probably started at the wrong place. And you can see there's actually a break of it right there. It's more like that. And you get a close outside new high, and that's a second entry short, and you actually get a lower high here. I don't think you want to go short on the second entry, but on the lower high, I like that one. And normally I'd tell you on a uptrend not to take that, but this has been such a bearish day that it's being that far away from the EMA, it's probably going to be a good trade. You can see, boom, it takes off. And then that takes you into 230. So there it is. My headphones are beeping at me, and my battery's about to die, so I'm not going to beat around the bush because I don't want to lose my audio here and you not being able to hear me close out. But really good trading day. This is probably the best trading day we've had in a long time. You had to find these trend channels, and you had to follow the rules, but if you did, there were a lot of easy entries. And so, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. That's it for you. If you hadn't seen the live trade example I took, go watch it. I think it'd be helpful to you to see how I did it, see me do it in real time. People always ask me, how do you enter? Where do you put your stop? How do I just watch me do it? And it worked out perfectly. My stop, I think, was exactly one tick above my entry, but I didn't have to move it because I was out so fast. It didn't matter. I didn't have time to move it. I went to look at it, and the scalp was already filled, and I was at break even within 3 or 4 seconds, and then another 8 or 10 seconds, and I was out of the trade. So no stops to even move. You didn't have time. And people get concerned. That's what I try to tell people. People always get worried about the high volatility and do I need to change the way I do my stop, and do I need to try to go for more? Well, yeah, you could go for more, but you're probably going to get more runners like I did today. And you're going to be in and out. It gets easier because it moves so fast and it moves so far that it gets easier. So don't worry about your stop. Where you put your stop is more important than how big it is, always. Never forget that. That's exactly opposite of what you're taught. All over the internet, every book I know, but trust me, go trade their rules and watch what happens. You'll get stopped out every time. But if your stop always goes one tick above your signal bar or one tick below your signal bar, depending on which way you're entering. If you're entering short or long, obviously, and you don't put it anywhere else. If you put it anywhere else inside that bar, you're going to get stopped out just about every time. Because they're stop running. They know where the stops are. They'll try to run them before they take prices on. So where you put your stop is much, much more important than how big it is. Because, yeah, it might be bigger. You saw that trade I took. I can't remember how big the stop was. It was not that big, but it wasn't small. That bar is well, I don't know why I did it that way. It's over 3 points, so that's going to be 12, 13 ticks. 13 ticks. I mean, that's not humongous, but that's not super small either. But they're all about like 13, 15 ticks today. And none of these do I worry about how big the stop is. That one's 14. That one's 17. That's about the average today. 15, 11, 12. I mean, I just don't worry if you're reading the chart right and you're following the rules, where you put your stop is more important than how big it is. I just don't know any other way I can say it. People that get all worried about this risk reward. If we were trading a losing strategy and we're trying to trade long term, I would agree with them. But we're just trying to get 4 measly ticks, 4 simple ticks before it moves much further in the other direction. And so if you're reading the chart right and following the rules, it's hard to mess that up. It really is. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not easy to learn, but once you learn it, it's like taking candy from a baby on a day like this. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.